recording up, and we can go ahead and get started.
4, 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming.
Move out.
Stop the payload.
Let's get you healed up. Good.
Yeah, so far, it's looking like our positioning's pretty alright. Alrighty. Gotta be real careful about pushing through open areas, so this comes back to just basic positioning. So, yep, essentially, bad positioning is the absence of cover. Good positioning is the usage of cover. If we're crossing through wide open areas, then we're very likely to die. So that's what leads to this death. So if we have a couple choices here. First off, when we're crossing over rather than going diagonally here, right? This extends the amount of time that we're out in the open, whereas just flat out crossing from here to there is less time, right? Where we're being able to be shot at from that angle. We could also potentially just stay in this spot, as we do have like 4 people on this side of choke, or 5 people, right? So we could potentially just stay in this position. And then we could also just make sure that we're crossing through when our team's crossing through. Here we just kind of, we see we go diagonally, and then that means that there's even more time where we're just out in the
Right.
open. Right, so you just gotta be careful of that. Also, watch your spam jumping, as this isn't gonna be something that, of course, this isn't gonna be something that's gonna get you the masters, but it is something to think about, especially since you are at diamond. The higher up in ranks you go, the more people, the better snipers and hit scan and just DPS in general. They get better at knowing how to track jump animations, as jumping makes it very easy to get headshots. So we just gotta be careful that we're not spam jumping or just pressing jump, 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 right? That's not going to be very good for us. So it's just a habit to look to get out.
Yeah, one thing I should mention, actually, I forgot to mention this earlier. I have been in Masters before. I've peaked about 3,660, which is about a few months ago.
Oh.
But as you mentioned, when you get into Masters, people start hitting their shots.
Yep.
So that sort of bad habit of jumping, I could really start feeling it once you get to that sort of SR.
Yep. Alrighty, so the first thing that we should be looking to do every single game is take a look at team comps, especially since we're at diamond, this is a very important thing to go over. Let's just take a look at what are our best nano targets, what things we have to watch out for on the enemy team, what team composition are we working with, what is the enemy team composition, and then all of those things combined is going to impact our play style and the decisions that we're going to make on Ana. So the first thing that we can do every game is, like, we can even do this in spawn while we're just spawning in, is take a look at our team comp and pick out like kind of the top 3 nano targets, and then this way we're not having to think about it like in the middle of the fight while we're about to use nano, right? It gives a little bit more time to plan ahead of time. So we pick nano priorities. That way, if let's say priority number 1 dies or doesn't have their ultimate, then we can go to number 2 and number 3 from like kind of from there. This one is, I feel like it should be decently easy. Who you say being your top 3?
For our comp, it'd probably be Soldier, Zarya, and Winston.
I'll probably pick the monkey over a full charge Zarya, just because he's going to be guaranteed. Because, for example, here they have a Reinhardt shield. Full charge Nano Zarya can't necessarily go through that too easily. And then they can just kite back from it, and they have some spammy characters, so she might be too far away to get to some of those. But Monkey can cleave through shields, can get on top of them. So I'll probably go Nano Visor, Monkey, and then Zarya. Full charge, of course. Nanoing Zarya is 0 energy, isn't going to do you anything. Alright, so one thing that I'm noticing that we're not doing so far is being aggressive with our anti-nades, and as Ana, we want to make sure that we're aggressive with our I'll take more of a look at this to see if we start to do this a little bit more, but When we're not aggressive with our anti-nades, that does multiple things. First off, we lose our carrying potential. Nades and sleeps are the biggest parts of Ana's kit. You're able to carry and do the most when you land, especially aggressive anti-nades. 6-man anti-nades a lot of time are going to have more impact than a nano boost can. So it's really important that we're looking to put ourselves in positions to and looking for situations to land anti-nades. And if we're not doing that, then we're going to see their team just kind of gets run over because we're losing a lot of impact. So on top of it being a good offense, the other thing you'll find is when we land anti-nades, it also acts as a good defense. So sometimes a good offense can act as a good defense by when they're purple, they can't really push aggressively, right? If we purple the tanks, they can't keep pushing in and doing damage because they have to play passive now. So that relieves stress and damage from your team. So big point right here is this: we just want to make sure we're looking to actively use our abilities much more, because if you're holding on to them, they don't get any, or using them just for healing somebody up, it's not going to get nearly as much value. Now, of course, you can use them to heal people up, right? That's of course going to be something you're going to be using quite frequently. Probably say like 40% of the time, roughly, you're going to be looking to use nades for healing, especially when you need to burst heal somebody or heal yourself, right? But 60% of the time, you're actively looking for the anti-nades. Okay, so I'd like to regroup here. Let's get back with our team. Right. Are you familiar with, or do you have any experience with ult tracking?
I try to do it, but a lot of the time in the middle of a game, you just kind of forget sometimes. I kind of find that.
All right.
But I try to whenever I remember.
Yeah, would you be interested in learning how to maybe do that more effectively?
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a thing I want to get better at.
Alrighty, so ult tracking. Essentially, the first major step is after every single fight, whether or not you won the fight or lost the fight, that would be at this point when we're running away, right? So even like right now, right, while we're running away from them, this is where we start the ult tracking process. And then we have like 20 seconds to work with here. So right now we're running away, we press tab, okay? We're pressing tab, we look at the enemy team comp. Here we're gonna use top right corner of our screen, like team 2, but we won't be accurate to what they have currently. So we're going to read through it left to right, and we're gonna go, okay, last fight I saw or heard that they used High Noon, Nano, and Shatter, right? Because they just used those ultimates, that means they won't have those for this next fight, right? Because we really only care about what's happening in this next fight, right? So they won't have those for this fight. We see that they just swapped from a Hog to the Zarya, so that means that that's a fresh ultimate. They won't have that either, and we're not really sure. So we ask our team, like maybe we were dead or we weren't paying attention. So we ask our team, "Hey, did they use Trance or did they use Bob?" And they say, "Yeah, they used Trance that fight." Right. So now we know through a process of elimination that they're gonna have Bob here, and that's the only thing that they have. Right. So and then the real important thing when it comes to ult tracking is not just knowing that they have it, but looking to counter those ultimates, so that we can have a way to get rid of them, counter them, whatever. We just want to have a plan, right? We can't just say, "Hey, they have Nano, they have Grab, they have Bob." And they're coming up on Trans. We can't just say that. We also have to have a plan for some of them, right? They have a Grab, and they're probably going to Nano Reinhardt into it, right? So make sure we're staying split up. Lucio, you're gonna have to beat that, right? Just give some reminders out, right? If they have Shatter, you reminding your Ryan that they have Shatter just helps them block it, right? So ult tracking will be very useful for stopping those ultimates.
So, a quick question:
Yep.
if you were like if they had a Sombra or something and our Lucio had beat ready, if you're in like a competitive match, a solo one where you don't know anybody,
Yep.
would it be best to tell your Lucio to Lucio hide, or because I don't know, I just thought whenever I've done that before, I've kind of got negative responses, I guess, from people saying stop telling me what to do, I know, or that sort of thing.
Yep, it's always good. It really comes down to how you're wording it because it definitely can be taken as commanding.
Yeah.
Really, you can kind of give the quick. Say almost as a reminder, right? So say something. You can say something along the lines of, "Hey, Lucio, they remember they have a Samurai EMP. You might want to go hide, right? Do it as more of a suggestion,
Right.
right?
Got you.
That way, when you're coming across as maybe not so Lucio, you need to go hide right now, right?
You're
Now,
giving them a choice with
yes,
it.
exactly,
Well, yeah,
right?
yeah.
hmm and then on top of that, you can even like the next big step to that of this process would be ult planning would come next, which of course, no guarantee that both of those happen all at the same time, right? It takes a lot of brain power and effort to make sure that you're doing both of those every single fight. But I guess just so that you have it in your toolkit and you're able to do it once in a while, especially in more important fights. It's also a good idea to pay attention to your ults too, right? Because we can take a look at our team comp and what happens if we have like 6 ults and we use all of those?
Sorry, can you say that again?
Yep.
Someone behind me coughed.
Yep. What happens if we have 6 ultimates for this next fight and we decide to use all of those?
Oh, then you lose the next 2 or 3
Exactly.
fights, basically.
Yep. Exactly. So that means that ult tracking, what that can do for us is it does 2 main purposes. First off, it means that we don't over ult because we're calling out which specific ults to use. And second is we can more effectively combo ultimates, especially if they're not paying attention, right? So if let's say we have a nanovisor here and they're not paying attention to tab or they're not really paying attention to anything, then Ana might go ahead and nano Reinhardt, which might be less effective. Oh, you're Ana. I'm dumb. But you might, if you're not pressing tab, you might accidentally nano Reinhardt. You might accidentally nano Zarya. You might die before you're able to use it. Soldier might visor while you're dead, right? There's a lot of things that can go wrong if you're both not paying attention. So you just saying, hey, we have nano visor this fight. Okay, I'll get you when I get it, right? Something like that just lets him know this is what we're using. Make sure, like, get ready for it, right? And then that can stop overulting. That coordinates a little bit better, especially when you're calling for other people, right? Like, let's say that you have a grab dragon. Those can be a mess if Hanzo launches out the dragon without grab. If Zarya grabs after Hanzo's dead, right? There's a really easy fight-winning combo. Yeah, it can go wrong if we're not coordinating it correctly.
Right, right.
Okay, here I'd probably be looking to take high ground. This we can from high ground land very easy nades and give us a ton of survivability as it makes it so a lot of characters can't really get to us from here. Okay, really great nade, or we got one person with it, so good nade. Okay, probably don't necessarily need to drop from high ground to see people right underneath you. You can kind of inch your way. I'll demonstrate that next time we go to, or if we go to the training range here to go over some stuff. Nice sleep. Okay. Right now, with the soldier thing is that he's kind of very, very far out of our line of sight. We probably shouldn't have given up high ground. If we still have high ground here, we can nade like directly from above them. We can run this way and heal soldier and give him a nano. High ground's going to be very survivable. As we talked about with usage of cover, right? All high ground acts as cover, natural cover, because we go this way, they can see us. We go this way, they can't see us, right? On top of that, Reinhardt, there's a ton of characters in the game that can't get to us. Reinhardt can't get to us. Zarya can't get to us. Kree can't get to us, right? Zen can't get to us unless they're using abilities, right? The only person on their team that can get to us without running to the stairs is the Ashe.
That's what I was worried about at the time. That's why I rotated. Because I had a bind.
Which then, if we have an Ashe there, we have sleep, we have nade, we have a soldier who is here with us, right? So we have, if we're up here with our soldier, we can very easily 2v1 the Ashe. We have some abilities that we can use to counter the Ashe. And then on top of that, she's not even going for us right now. So if we're being a little bit more silent around this corner, then Ashe might not even know we're here in the first place. So yeah, it's stuff to be careful about, but there's only one character on their whole team that can even contest us. And if Ashe runs towards us and we feel like we're going to lose that duel, all we have to do is just run away from her or drop or anything like that. Here we can't drop because they're there. But our current position means that we're going to have to go for somebody else here with the nano. And the soldier ends up dying. Okay. Oh, whoops, I didn't mean to skip. Make sure we're looking to use our ults earlier in the fight. The earlier we can use our ultimates, the more value they're going to get. For example, here, they used Nano before us here. Actually, did they just pop Nano? Let's see. Yeah, okay, so they just popped Nano. Okay, so essentially, let's compare our two Nanos, right? Let's say they use Nano first. That means that now they're getting the damage amp, whatever, they get the advantage. They push in, they potentially get picks with it, they get space. This puts your team at a disadvantage because now you're down players. Now, if we use Nano after that point, now either we've already lost the fight or we're at a big disadvantage because they've already used their ultimates and already gotten the value. So our ultimate just does less than theirs do. So as long as the fight's going on and it's going to be, as long as the fight's not won or the fight's not lost, we should be looking to use our ultimate relatively early so that we're not getting two players picked and then losing the fight without even ever using Nano. Right, so Nano just comes out late here. Both DPS die. Probably should have popped it on like the Reinhardt orb. I don't think Zarya is high energy here. She doesn't look high energy. Yeah, she's only 18. So probably just pop it on Reinhardt, and then that way we have a way to win this fight. Okay. Again, anti-nades just seem to be very we're not really looking to use it. So here we're gonna go over some stuff. Mainly with kind of like on a specific positioning.
I do try to anti as much as I can, but I guess I just don't notice. Sometimes I just save it too long, I guess.
Yeah, so saving it too long. The other thing that we're about to go over here is setting yourself up in positions to where we can land anti-nades better. So first off, I was gonna just demonstrate this real quick on the high ground. On high grounds, if somebody's directly below us, we don't necessarily have to drop. Just add in a crouch, and that's gonna, because it lowers your movement speed, it means that we can get closer to the edge without falling off. Oh, so we can we can literally see directly below us if we just crouch far enough over here. And the only reason why we need to drop is if they ran below us and we can't get to them and they're like critical and about to die. Just don't feel like you're pressured to drop from high ground just because somebody's critical down there, because we can just peek and heal them like this, right? Other thing we're going to go over now is the kind of, we went over general positioning, but there are kind of 3 check boxes that you're looking to check off with on a specific positioning. So 3 main things. First off, can you see your team? This applied a little bit on first point as we had some people running out of our line of sight. Just make sure that we're putting ourselves in a position to where we can always see our team at all times, or at least the majority of our team. Because if people are running out of our line of sight, especially the main bulk of our team, then we're not going to be able to do our basic function on Ana, which is healing. Second main one, and these two, not really too much of the issues. I'd probably say number 3 is going to be the biggest one for you. Number 2 is just make sure that you're not standing out in the open, right? If we're healing from here, that means that they're able to shoot at us, and yes, we can heal our team, but if we're just healing our team, there's no reason to let the enemy team heal us. So instead, we move around the corner, and then now we can't get shot at, but we can still heal. If we need to, we just duck around. We can look for sleep, look for nade, and then now we're back to around the corner. Right, so just make sure we're playing on these corners, and we're standing behind them if we're in the middle healing. So number 2 is, can the enemy team see us? And we don't want them to be able to. Now, number 3 is, are we putting ourselves in a position to where we can effectively land nades and sleep? Now, effectively, there's a few ways that we can do this. So first off, let's say, our team's here, enemy team's there. The biggest, easiest way you can do this is by going on an off angle. So an off angle is inherently short and inherently fast, and you're just taking a different angle for a couple seconds to hopefully get a nade off. So if this is the scenario, right, we just go through here real quick, toss a nade, now we're back with our team. So by doing that, we're bypassing shields in the front. We're bypassing our entire team who might be standing in front of us. And if we just tried to chuck it from here, it's going to be a lot more difficult. They can see it coming. They can react. They can move out of the way. They can eat it. They can shield it. And it also has the potential to hit our team. Right? This ice gets rid of all of those, gets a nade in, and we get back. Okay? Sorry, you breathed. You'd have something to say?
Sorry, no, just
all right.
or something in the back of my throat. It's all good.
All right. Then, okay, next, same thing here. Okay, enemy team's right there. Our team's right here. Okay, so we see it. We're healing up our team. Right, we see that they're all pretty much full HP. Nobody's in critical. Nobody's in danger of dying. They're not about to run in. Okay, we take 1, 2, 3 seconds. Now we're up on the high ground where we can very easily go boom. Whole team's antied. We can slam the sleep from here. This is an insanely safe position. As we talked about, high ground's very insane. We duck away. They can't see us. Nobody can get up to us. If they do, we just drop back to our team this way or this way. And then we can just do whatever we want to do from up here, right? Take high grounds as often as possible, as long as they're in the middle of if they're in a fight and they don't have a ton of stuff to contest you. Then if they do contest you, all you have to do is drop to your team. So those are just examples of off angles. Now there is a big difference between an off angle and a flank, right? A flank would be if we went like this and we took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, now we took twice the amount of time. We were out of the fight for a much longer period of time. In that time, our team's probably dying. From here, we cannot heal our team. Yes, we get the nade off, but now we're dead. So a flank is inherently dangerous and is inherently long, and it means you're out of the fight for a longer period of time. So we want to go on off angles, not flanks. Right? So other ways we can land sleeps, make sure you're just looking to actively seek them out. Don't hold on to them for a long period of time. When you're using it, look to step to the side of your teammates, right? So we can go this way, we can go in the middle of them, right? We just want to make sure that we're paying attention to where our teammates are. We're moving to the side of them. We can go above them, like just by stepping on an object like this, we can get a little bit height above them and just throw it over them. With enemy shields, we can run past them. So for example, here, if our team's there, our enemy team's there, we can run in, toss a nade, back out, right? Hopefully that's safe. Sometimes you have to kind of gauge that for yourself. A lot of the time that'll work. If the times it won't work is if they're watching for you or they have a ton of spam damage that's just coming through that little tiny choke there. You can just look to time it when shields go down. We can wait till shields break. We just really really the problem is that we're just in this game that we're in. We're just not I don't see us looking for the nade. So we've only landed one single anti-nade from what I've seen so far. So we just want to make sure that we're actively looking to land those more often, and we'll be getting much more value out of it. Now, is this a right one? Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Oh, let's break it. Damn! It's behind.
The payload has reached the checkpoint.
Okay, so it does seem like we... Alright, never mind. Just had a train of thought, and then I was like, never mind, I'll wait on it. Okay, with the nade, big thing is just, this is an example of an off angle. The big thing is that we just kind of don't really scout out much before we toss it in, right? We peek for half a second and chuck it immediately, right?
Yeah,
so,
I see a group of people there, and I just kind of yeeted it.
Yep, exactly, right? So you might want to take if you see you're getting shot at, maybe don't just back out for a second, but the big thing here is that you just don't want to toss it the half a second after you peek the corner, because then that just means that it gets tossed out, does nothing, and then now we're down a nade, right? So we just need to put more thought into that one.
You're powered up. Get in there.
That's not right.
This will help.
Yeah, letting Zarya step in front of it. Got to pay attention to where our teammates are at, so that they don't. So the only things that go into like teammates stepping in front of nades or nanos is us not paying attention to where our team is positioned. So that's an awareness thing. And then on top of that, if we do see that they're in front of us, we need to position ourselves to where we're looking to the sides of them, or we're walking to the left or right of them, so that we can get around them. So us catching it on the Zarya just means that we don't get the anti-nade on any of them. So far, again, just as an emphasis point, we've only landed one single person as an anti so far. And then I don't know, I want to look at sleep more often as well, because I don't know if we're landing too many of those. Okay, that was a good heal nade, right? That's a situation where, yeah, Ryan's critical, probably want to just heal him to keep him up. Okay, What are the likely? Do they have any flanker characters?
No.
Not really. What are the likelihoods that we're going to need sleep as from this position as a defensive ability to keep ourselves alive?
Not really. You could probably just throw it in there. Not on cooldown, but whenever you see an opportunity, and you probably wouldn't get punished for it, I guess.
Exactly, right? So that's another part that of watching enemy team comps, right? Is do they have flankers? How should we be using our abilities, right? You're going to be using your abilities completely differently if they're on the comp they're on currently, or if they're on a dive, right? If they're on a dive, we're using nade and sleep much more defensively because they're going to be on top of us constantly, and nade's going to get a lot more value when it's on us because they're grouping up when they come on top of us. We get the heal effect and we purple them all when they get on top of us. Here, there should be no reason why we really hold on to especially sleep, but nade also, we don't need it nearly as often for ourselves. So we just want to make sure that we're launching those in whenever we see an opportunity. So big thing I'm paying attention to here is just the ability usage.
Get here. I will keep you healed.
Okay. Where is our team going to position it? Because if they're backing up here, which I would hope they back up here, we could probably look to just play around what you're doing last time and just play around these left two flank angles because we can get very easy nades from here as long as we're careful of like them watching us. Right, we use because it's a good off angle. We just have to be careful that then the McCree's not gonna like stun us or something. If we see that they're looking to hold up here, which it does look like they want to hold up here, we'd probably be much better off holding kind of where McCree or Zarya, like these guys over here, because now we have much better angles to where we can land nades, right? This checks off all three boxes. We can see our team. Enemy team can't see us from here because we have this kind of high ground as cover, and we have a bunch of cover here, pillar, okay, here, right? There's a bunch of different objects we can use as cover, and then on top of that, we have a really good angle from where we can land nades from above them, right? So this is better than the current positioning. Oh, wrong character. This is better than the current positioning that we have because of two reasons. One being the nades, and then two is from this angle we're going to be, I think, a little bit more exposed to just taking damage. Okay, good defensive nade there. Yeah, we're holding on the Nano a lot. I think this is the third fight that we've had Nano for, so make sure that we're looking to use Nano much more frequently because you're going to get a lot more value out of it the more often you use it. And then on top of that, you first off, yeah, you don't get value out of ultimates you don't use. Secondly, you start charging your other ultimates once you use it. So let's say we used it 3 fights ago, right? That means we get two or three more like nanos in that same time, right? 2 or 3 nanos in the time that we used one. So we want to make sure that we're looking to use it much more frequently because we're just going to get overall a lot more value. So as long as the fight's not been won or lost, we're using our nano hopefully at the beginning of the fight. Now, by this point, we've won that fight, so we're good on not using it. Okay, right now we have a grab, so the big thing that you should be thinking about is landing an anti into the grab. What do they have to counter grab?
On their side, they've got the Transcendence, so if you land that anti, then it pretty much nullifies the ult.
Exactly, right? And even if they did not have Transcendence, still going to be a fantastic place to land the nade because they're all grouped up in a tiny little ball. Perfect nade opportunity. So we should be looking to hopefully get a nade in here, and I would be assuming that Zarya is probably going to look for a grab right around choke here, right? And then us being here allows us to land a nade from above into it. Right, so again, positioning. It's looking so far like top number 1 thing to work on is going to be our ability usage, and the number 2 thing to work on is going to be our positioning. That will enable our ability usage.
So would you say like my positioning in general is just a bit too safe?
Um,
Or
So a bit too far, a bit too passive, I would say.
Right. Okay. That's what.
Because
Yeah.
you can be safe in an aggressive position.
Right. Got you. Yeah, that makes sense.
So
Yeah.
we're just playing a little too passive to where we're not really. The problem that you're going to find with this play style that we have is that we don't have the impact to carry games, which is what you need to do to win games, right? To climb out of your SR, you have to be able to find impact yourself. And to be honest, right now support is the nuttiest role in the game. Supports are nuts. It's the most broken role there is. You have the highest carrying potential in the game right now as a support. We just have to make sure that we're looking to use our abilities, which the supports have the nuttiest abilities in the game, right? Anti-nade, Bap Lamp, Brig is a busted character in general, right? You have a ton of different things that these supports provide, right? Zenyatta, Discord Orb. Those abilities can't be found in the other roles. And because of that, we're like this is a very busted role at the moment, and we just need to be looking to play more aggressively so we can tap into that carry potential that we're not currently tapping into because we're just playing to heal bot, right? When you're just heal botting, you're technically just relying on your team to carry. Alrighty, so we're looking for Nano as well this fight. Probably look to, I would probably go for a Nano High Noon, but we could also potentially go for Nano Ryan into the Grav. We might not even need to use Nano if we wanted, like the other times where we can hold on to it is if we call to use other ults instead, right? So if we decide to use Grav High Noon, you might not need the Nano, but I think 3 ults here, especially if they use both their ults, is acceptable. Okay. Opportunities like this. So when you see the enemy Reinhardt's running and swinging, that's a perfect time to go for sleeps and nanos. Especially when he is nanoed. What's a Reinhardt gonna want to do when he's nanoed?
Swing, obviously. You know, he's got
Okay.
that damage buff and reduced damage to himself.
Yep.
So yeah, he'll want to swing.
Exactly, right? So when he is in there swinging like that, perfect thing that we can do is just launch in a sleep at him, right? Because you can see, like, from the time let's, like, watch how long he's going to drop shield for once he gets nanoed here. Okay. Nanoed 1, 2, 3. Okay, we have perfect 3-second opportunity to go for that, right? So just be paying attention to that because when a Reinhardt's in there swinging aggressively, that's a perfect opportunity to go for either or sleep or nade, right? Both of them are probably going to get some value. If it's a nano Reinhardt, probably going to get more value out of the sleep. If it's a regular swinging Reinhardt, you'd probably get more value out of the nade because that'll probably heal up your Reinhardt and purple the enemy Reinhardt, which allows your Ryan to get aggressive. Okay, we're looking for the anti, but we're just not in a position to land it. Okay, hopefully we were looking for a nano here. To keep Ryan up. Zarya stepped in front of us. Instead of walking forwards, step to the side. All right, go left or right. That way we kind of move out of her vision. I think that was kind of the problem. Zarya just kind of stepping in front of us here, and we try to hit him, and then Zarya just kind of keeps walking forwards. Oh, okay, McCree just walked right next to us. We didn't hear that, apparently. Right, we'll turn or I guess we can just watch this, right? McCree's gonna walk left side, flashbang right next to us, and we're not gonna look at him.
Not gonna lie, I didn't even notice him when we were doing. I didn't even notice him when you were going over the VOD there.
Yep. Just keep
wow.
Yep. Keep in mind as well, I have my volume at 20% here. Typically I have this at 100% when I play. I turn this down so I can focus on talking and listening to you, not the game sound, but because I'm also paying attention to it and I see the flashbang fly past us, I hear the footsteps, right? Because I train myself to pay attention, that type of thing. So the big thing is we just want to make sure that we're listening and watching for those types of deals so that we're not getting caught off guard and flanked like that. And then when we do pay attention to it, we're able to survive a lot better. So you pay extra close attention to it when you know that they have flanker characters. And McCree is a semi-flanky character. He's not too much of one like Tracer or Genji, but he is going to be doing it a little often. So we just got to pay attention to it, especially because this left side, quite frankly, is probably going to be the easiest place for him to come through, right? Just like it's the easiest place for you to go through and land a nade, it's going to be the easiest way for him to just sneak through, land a flashbang, and then kill you.
You're powered up. Get in there.
Okay. If you're, we try. It looks like we're trying to heal nade here. I think that's fine because we have some critical players, but kind of like toss it through them.
Man, I knew this game was bad when I sent it in, but I didn't realize just how bad it really was.
How'd that go through Reinhardt? What?
Oh, is it Overwatch doing Overwatch things?
Is that?
Where it just it forgets the ability exists sometimes.
Yeah, I think this goes like through him. We throw a nade here, right? Where'd it go? All right. Well.
Unlucky, I guess, but it happens.
You're covered.
Yeah, I was just wondering how that missed.
Step right up. It's time.
Okay, good cover usage. Okay, that is one. Okay, so I know I've talked a lot about the weaknesses here. Our strengths, we do a very good usage of cover. We do hit a lot of mechanical shots. We're not struggling at all to hit just basic shots at all. So that is a strength that we have. I think abilities is definitely like we've missed a lot of sleeps. We've missed a lot of nades. So sleep ability usage is definitely going to be the number one thing. Ana, like kind of putting yourself in a position to use those abilities is gonna be number two. We also have a really good grasp on general awareness of knowing whether or not we're winning or losing fights. We have a good macro awareness in that sense. So we understand that, and we're doing good on that end. And then I'd probably say currently the number three thing that we're gonna need to work on is making sure we're using our ultimate a lot faster, so that we're not holding on to it for too long. But yeah, there are it's not just all bad stuff here.
I appreciate the pity.
It's quiet time. Get real.
Alrighty. In that
Just to explain,
situation,
I was trying to stall there. That was just to explain.
yeah, I'd probably say in that scenario, rather than trying to run out right side, maybe coming left side and using this room as cover might be a little bit more effective for you.
Yeah.
And then from there, we can also look to, instead of using the nade for healing, we can look to use it for the anti purposes, which can hopefully give some space for our team to work with, and again makes them get less aggressive, means that they have to play passive, and gives our team, therefore these guys stalling have more time to stall, our team gets back. Here I just think we go for the wrong play in this scenario, and we try to run away, and then that ends in dead. Alrighty. Skip ahead. I might also, I completely forgot about this, but I might also just go over some ult tracking stuff here, just so we can get some practice in on that. I forgot I even talk more about that.
Spot the payload.
Tracer's behind us to hear the footsteps. Where's she at? I thought I heard footsteps. Okay, never mind. I'm dumb. Where's she? Okay, she's over on here on the side. Okay, it totally sounded like I heard her, but that's okay. That's the Widowmaker above us. That's probably what I heard. I'm trying to flex and then get rolled. Okay. Again, good attempt, but it's just another whiff because we're just not in a good position to go for it. Better thing to go for here would have been maybe like we can push more aggressively up with our tanks. If they're taking space, we can look to get a little bit closer. This is a situation where like if they're first off, if we were a little bit closer there, we probably could have done it when Reinhardt was swinging. Right about here, when Reinhardt pushes in. Like right here is where we could have maybe landed a bubble past him, but he also has a bubble. I didn't see that because it was through the wall. Once he places shield, once our Reinhardt pushes forwards, we can probably look to like get right up here on this corner, right? This gives us a lot of cover, means that unless they're standing right here, they can't really shoot at us. Then from there, all we have to do is just run basically into the Reinhardt, land the nade, and then back out, right? It takes him a swing or two, it takes him 3 swings to kill us. It's not going to happen instantaneously. And then on top of that, if we land a nade on top of him, it's healing us as well. So we can get away with doing that a tiny little bit. We'll hopefully be able to get out of that alive. But us chucking it in there is just, it has to travel a lot of distance. It's less accurate because when we're chucking it in from super far away. That means that he has more time to either purposefully or accidentally block it. You gotta look for a sleep at some point here. Want to make sure we're not holding on to it, because it does seem like sleep's one of the abilities that we just hold on to too often. Okay, good nade in general. We hit 3 people with that, so anytime you're doing that, whether it be healing or damage, that's always good. Nothing to keep in mind is that we didn't use sleep at all in the fight.
No, I remember what happened here. Oh god.
No. Unfortunate.
Unfortunate indeed.
Yep. Just again paying attention to the fact that we didn't use sleep at all that fight. So let's see, do we use it here?
You're going to be okay.
Okay, so we're coming up on Nano here. Yeah, we'll take a look at some ultimates now. They have Pulse, they have Shatter, right? We can tell Zarya to hold on to bubbles for those, right? We have Grab, we have Nano, we have Shatter. Okay, so we have a ton of stuff here. Okay, so this is where we can look to combo some stuff. We can say, okay, let's grab Nano Reinhardt, or we could potentially save Nano for the Soldier role, and we can just use Grab Shatter here. We just want to combo something because they only have 2 ultimates so far. We have 1, 2, 3, and then we're coming up on 1, 2. They're coming up on 1, 2, 3. So we're pretty even on ultimates here, but we just want to make sure we're comboing stuff is the main thing. Okay, they only have a McCree. We can very easily get away with just crossing through this open area, right? Nobody here has line of sight on us. Nobody here can shoot at us. Just cross over to where your Reinhardt's at. Don't chill here and stand there. That's just gonna mean that you're in a bad position when the fight starts. Or okay, I thought he was gonna go left side, but he's going main apparently. Very good nade, good nano. Unfortunately, he got purpled, but good. Go for a sleep here. We're just holding on to it too long. Okay. Other thing that I've noticed when we're doing sleeps, and this is something that pretty much every Ana that I ever coach does, is we have very normal shots. Let's just look at our primary shots here for a second. Right, we go through this fight, primary shots. Okay, very smooth. We're looking straight at the person. Smooth, smooth. We're just like pretty much aiming at the thing we want to hit at. No major flicks. Sleep, boom, into the side of the wall, right?
Yeah, now you mentioned it, yeah, I do jump as well when I sleep,
yep.
Which makes it even harder.
Every time in Ana, or not every time, I'm not going to say every time, but the majority of times when I coach Anas, it's always a flick when they try to go for sleeps, right? They're normal, and then all of a sudden they go for sleep, and then they're like, they go like this with their flick, and then it goes nowhere, right? So, make sure that you're looking straight at the thing you're trying to sleep, because it's your sleep goes in a straight line. So as long as Zarya doesn't dodge it, you're gonna hit them the same way you're gonna hit your primary fire. Sleep's just a tiny little bit of a slower projectile. Especially if something's right next to you, you're pretty much going to be aiming straight at them. If they're a little bit further away from you, you aim a little bit ahead of where they're running, right? The further and further away they get, you're aiming further and further ahead. Just want to make sure that we're not doing a crazy flick, especially when it's a relatively easy one to land I know a lot of Anas that will like have a Roadhog standing like right in their face, and then they'll do a panic flick and then hit the ceiling somehow when it's the biggest target in the game right on top of them, right?
It does get into a bit of a habit, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Oh, good reaction time there. Make sure instead of just trying to dodge it, you're trying to run away from it, right? So you're not just trying to AD strafe, but you're like AD strafing while you're trying to get behind the corner, right? That way you're not just tanking the whole thing, because even if you're AD strafing, you're probably gonna die.
You're gonna die eventually, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So the best thing there would just been to try to run away.
I'm not ready to hang it up. You're covered.
Already. When Tracer has frequently spawn camped you, just make sure you're paying attention for her and you're listening. Whenever we know that they have a flank, like a specially flanker character like Tracer, we have to make sure we're putting extra attention into our flank angles, listening and watching for them. So gotta pay attention to this. Oh, we even saw her peek out there for a second.
Yeah, you can see like a pixel. Oof.
Oh, that was unfortunate fire strike.
It's happening.
60 seconds remaining.
Wait, we died before them. Why are we coming out after them? Okay, did we die here? No, okay, we just stayed behind to heal the McCree. Alright. Especially if it looks like he's coming over to you, just keep walking while you're healing. Like, walk this way while you're turning around, right? That way you're covering some distance.
Yeah, I was worried about the Tracer, maybe getting him whilst he was loyal, so that's why I slowed down, but you're right, I should definitely just keep walking.
Oh,
Because the DPS just kept flanking constantly this match.
Yeah. Whenever you know that they have flankers, the best, and or dive, the best solution to that positioning wise is to make sure that you're with your team, because or you're making it as difficult for them as you can to kill you, because when we're on top of our team, they can help protect us and they can help heal for you. Us isolating ourselves from our team is what makes it easy for them to kill us. Here I think we'd see that they have a McCree flanking us. I don't know how, but we just like instantly flicked it to him. Hacks.
Yep, I got wall hacks, what can I say?
Oh. Okay, it's fine. Yep, us sticking on top of our team is just the right move to make here. Okay, good heal nades. Right, coming in the next fight, they have Pulse, that's it. We have Shatter Nano. We probably just look to, we don't have a Visor and we don't have High Noon. We probably just look to Nano Reinhardt here. Okay, good job. Nice sleep, good nade.
This is Versailles special, as I like to call it, in a second. You'll see what I mean.
Oh. Yeah, so...
I just held on to Nano for too long. I overthink who it's going to land on, because I just think I don't want to get on the Lucio, I want to get it on the Ryan, I want to get it on the right target, so I hold it for so long trying to actually get it on the right person that they end up dying, and I get it on the wrong person.
Yeah, you just want to make sure that you're positioning yourself to where you can see him. Like here, have you lowered your nano sensitivity at all?
I have done in the past, but the problem I have then is when I try to do like nano blades, I end up missing the Genjis when they're dashing in the air.
How low are you going with it then?
Like a low.
Yeah, you don't want to go low. You probably, like, the best place where you probably want to do it, because I used to be an auto main, you want around like 50 or 60. I think I have mine at 60. That allows you to get a little bit more accurate with it, while also not meaning that when you're nanoblading, you're missing it every time, because when you're putting it at 10, that means you have to literally be on top of their bodies.
Yeah.
So I would recommend putting it down a little bit, but not too much. The other thing here is just, make sure you're stepping to the side of them, and you're really, really paying attention to where the Lucio's at, right? And yeah, you're right. Don't overthink it. Don't hesitate with it, because then they just end up dying, and you don't get any value out of it.
Down. Get back in the fight.
They're not as young as they used to be.
You're covered. We need to keep the payload.
Alright, well, okay, why don't we leave here and we'll just go over this real quick and then we'll get started on the wrap up here. So, on Ana, you have a cool little tech that you can use to just get a little bit more accurate at longer ranges. This will allow you to land nades at very far distance, especially when you're just chucking across the map. This can allow you to land it a little bit easier. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to scope in. This doesn't work if you're unscoped. Sorry, my scope is bugging right now. Right click, work. Okay, my right click doesn't want to work right now. All right, there we go. So we scope in. We want to make sure we're paying attention to our ult chart here at the very bottom. You're going to line that up with an enemy, and you toss a nade, and that nade will hit them from any height, any range. Okay, it's going to be right around the ult mark there. So we can do the same thing from here. Right, we're going to line up because they're on like a little slope there. We're going to line up with a Q. He's gonna walk in, nade in there, right?
The pain is coming.
Okay, so that's just how you can land it from a bit further away. We're gonna do a little bit of a wrap up of the session. We're gonna do a quick review. Talked about. Okay, so quick, because I think it's very standout for you of what the main issues are. So we're just gonna go over 1, 2, 3. What are the top 3 things to work on? Number 1, ability usage. Sleep needs to come out a lot more often, and I just make sure you're not shooting normally and then all of a sudden sleep comes and going, what's up, right? Gotta make sure you're just keeping that very smooth and make sure you're trying to be a little bit more accurate with it. Nade, you do use it pretty frequently. Just make sure that you're using it. You're actively looking for anti-nades, which you do once in a while, or you do actively look for it. But also make sure you're putting yourself in positions to land your anti-nades, as a lot of the times we're not really in fantastic positions, which comes to number 2. Positioning. First off, make sure you're next to cover, which you do a decent job with. Second off, which is the big one here, make sure you're thinking of those 3 check boxes, right? Check marks. That way you're, especially number 3, make sure you're putting yourself in a position to where you can land nades effectively so that we can get antis in and stop them from healing, right? Put pressure on them. For squishy targets, that's getting rid of half of their health. If they're already low, that's permanently, for the next couple of seconds, that's permanently sticking them at a third of their health, right? Or 1 HP, which can be very nuts because it allows kills to come through very easily. Okay, number 3 is focus on your nanos. So nanos have, first off, we're holding on to them, so make sure you're using them more frequently. The more we use our ultimates, the more ultimates we get in the first place, and the more value, we don't get value out of ultimates we don't use. Second off, make sure you're putting a lot of concentration into making sure that you're hitting the right person when you're going to hit nades or ultimates. You got to make sure that you're hitting the right person. You're moving to the side of the other people and paying attention to where they're at. So if we're trying to hit certain people, we move to the side of our teammates, right, so that we're not accidentally hitting somebody. And you also have to pay attention to where your teammates are positioning. Okay. Now, you do have very good primary fire. You have great mechanics in general. Not too big of an issue, but just make sure you're not spam jumping. Instead, it's a good habit to try to get crouches in, mixed in. Pay attention to your flank angles and keep up your audio awareness, so you're paying attention to when people are flanking you, like McCree's, tracers, right? So we can survive on those a little bit more often. Try to do your best when you know that they have a lot of flankers or dive to stay with your team. What else did we talk about? We just did the on a nade tech, where you scope in and line it up. Those are all the main points, and then if there's anything else, you can always go back and watch the recording, or you can just remember it as you're playing. Things will come up. You'll go like, oh yeah, we talked about that, right?
Yeah, it'll come to mind whenever it happens, right?
Yeah. Do you have any questions on anything that we've gone over?
Yeah, I suppose. I think you've gone over this just to make it all clear, I suppose. When you are looking for positions, how do you sort of walk that fine line between finding somewhere that's aggressive with you, but you're still safe. So is it like high ground?
So high
with
ground.
your
Sorry, yeah, it's all about the risk reward really. Sometimes like you of course never want to purposely die, but sometimes even like if you get a 6-man anti-nade off, sometimes that reward can outweigh the risk of being in a potentially dangerous scenario. Um, but of course, like let's say they have a beat or an immortality field, then that becomes a lot less applicable. But let's say we're purpling a transcendence when we have a grav on, right? That is definitely a situation where even if we went in and suicided to land that nade, that 6-man anti-nade that counters an ultimate and puts everybody purple while in a grav can be worth the life that you're giving. And on top of that, you of course aren't going to want to suicide a lot of the times, so it's the risk reward of, is where I'm standing worth getting the nade off for the level of risk that I'm putting? A lot of the times, like it really depends on what situation you're in, right? Because some places are safer than others, right? Situation like this, where we were talking about this off angle before, this is a very, very safe position. Situation like this, very safe. Good off angle where you can go in real quick. Not real dangerous position. Now, if we're trying to go in from the front line, right, and do that, that's a little bit more dangerous, right? So we have to be kind of mind. It's all gonna be circumstantial, and it's gonna depend on what's going on around us, and we have to measure, is it worth attempting to go for this nade and potentially being in a poor position, because you don't want to end up dying or suiciding for nades a lot of the time. Just only in those rare cases where we might. But yeah, you're trying to get in the best positioning possible, because even if you're in an aggressive positioning, a lot of the times your positioning in relation to cover, and how you're using high grounds and how you're using corners and objects, that can really prop up aggressive positioning, because even if coming up to high ground here is a little bit more aggressive, we have really fantastic positioning. Even if coming into this off angle might be a little bit more aggressive, it's great positioning, right? Which allows us to really go around these corners and just be really safe once again. Alright, did that answer your question, or that still be a little confusing?
No, that answers my question. That's great. One other thing with sleeps, I end up holding on to them all so much because when I first got into the game, I just ended up using them pretty much on cooldown, and other players would tell me that it's best to save them for when you see like key abilities, like key ultimates. Like if you see a Reinhardt shatter, then it's good to have sleep for then and not have wasted it beforehand. But I guess I just don't really know, because you mentioned earlier how it's with that team comp, it would have been best to just use sleep really often. But if I did that, then I wouldn't have had sleep for those sort of key moments. So I don't know what question I'm asking really.
Yeah,
I just kind of wanted like clarification on that.
That's where ult tracking would come in, and also on top of that, whenever we have our ability on cool, we're always looking for optimal usage out of our sleep. We're not just looking for quantity, we're also looking for quality with all of our abilities. So whenever we have sleep on cooldown, right, with it's a 12-second cooldown. With the last 4 seconds of that, we can be actively looking for how we can be using sleep, so that as soon as it comes off, we can be using it pretty much immediately, right? So that we're using it pretty much right as it comes off cooldown. Same with our nade, right? We can be looking for it even before we get it, so that we can get not just the quantity in, but also the quality out of it. Now, if we know that they have a big ultimate coming up, let's say, like you said, Shatter, they have a Nano Blade coming up, right? They have a easy ones to sleep, like a Whole Hog or a High Noon, right? We can hold on to our sleep if we're ult tracking and we know it's coming. But if they don't have those ultimates that we need to hold on to sleep for, then you're better off using it frequently. That's why a lot of times ult tracking is going to come in. And I'd much rather see like 3 sleeps come out than just zero sleeps happening, and then just like, because what ends up happening is then we hold on to sleep the whole time, and then we just end up losing the fight, even if they end up using their ultimate. So we just want to be careful that we're not holding on to it for too long. And there are going to be key scenarios where sleep's going to be extra good for specific abilities, for specific ultimates. But it's going to happen more frequently than how often we use it in our game, right? Because we use it once a fight, the one time even when without a fight, using it in a fight, right? And very rarely is there going to be no situation to use a sleep in a fight, right? As long as we're looking for it. Yeah, that makes sense.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Alrighty. Any additional questions?
No, I think I'm good. You've